Boys, welcome back to another Brokowskis YouTube video. In this YouTube video, we're all talking about waiver wires in fantasy football. Which guys should you pick up? Which guys you shouldn't? Before I get into it, make sure you hit that subscribe. And if you guys want all of our rankings to ask us fantasy questions or for us to rate your team, check Patreon. It's the first link in the description. Let's get right into the waiver wires.
And probably by far the number one waiver wire this week, it's Jeff Wilson. Unfortunately, Elijah Mitchell is out, going to miss about 2 months. But Jeff Wilson's going to be that RB1 in San Francisco, which has tons of fantasy value in the meantime. And a few guys that had really good games this week. We got Carson Wentz, Devin Duvernay, Curtis Samuel, Jarvis Landry, OJ Howard, DJ Chark, even Greg Dortch. Any of those guys you like this week?
2 of them really stand out. I really like Jarvis Landry and I really like Curtis Samuel. Curtis Samuel, what did he get? 11 targets, 8 catches. He got in the end zone. He also had 4 rushing attempts. Did he get close to 100 yards? I think he got very close to 100 yards. Also, another guy there was Jarvis Landry. He did really good. Obviously, Michael Thomas was still that wide receiver 1, but he did get good targets, good catches. He was the clear wide receiver 2 there. Who do you like out of those guys?
Yeah, I completely agree. Curtis Samuel, Jarvis Landry, definitely the best out of the bunch. Carson Wentz had an amazing game, 27 points. I don't like holding 2 quarterbacks, so I'm probably not picking him up, but I'm definitely monitoring that situation there in Washington. Another player that had a great game, Michael Carter, had 9 targets, 7 catches, put up 17 fantasy points. You picking up Michael Carter if you have the chance?
Yeah, I very well am. He played, would you say 60% of snaps?
Yeah,
60% of snaps, 10 attempts, 60 yards. How much? 9 targets? Him and Breece Hall were both getting fed. Right now, I think their workloads will be very similar to 50-50, but with how much the Jets should throw their running backs, I love Michael Carter. What do you think?
Yeah, completely agree. Also, Rex Burkhead had a surprising good game. 12 fantasy points, was definitely the RB1 over Dameon Pierce, which was very surprising. Another player that had a great game, Robbie Anderson. What do you think about him?
Yeah, Robbie Anderson. Pull up his stats real quick. I know he got that deep.
I think it was 8 targets, 5 catches, over 100 yards and a touchdown.
102 yards and a touchdown. Yep, I like him a lot. DJ Moore was not used a ton that game. I still think DJ Moore should be the wide receiver 1 there. Obviously, you got CMC catching passes, but in a deeper league or even a shallower league, like the wide receiver 2 on Carolina with Robbie Anderson is a very good pickup.
Another player that had a great game, surprising, was the RB1 for the Jaguars, was James Robinson. Had way more points, way more usage than Travis Etienne. What do you think about James Robinson?
Yeah, James Robinson was super solid. He had 11 carries, had those 2 touchdowns. I think he only had 1 catch. He had 2 targets. We for sure do still like Etienne more. Obviously, Etienne should be that 3rd down back. But if James Robinson's on your waivers, you almost have to pick him up.
Yeah, a good chance he's not on your waivers, but if he is, definitely have to pick up James Robinson. Another player with an interesting situation is Tyler Boyd. Obviously, T. Higgins had that concussion. If he misses any times, Tyler Boyd is that clear wide receiver 2. Are you picking up Tyler Boyd if you have the chance?
I'd highly consider it. He had a solid game. What did he have? 13.3 points. I think Higgins will miss like max 1 week. But even with Higgins there, Boyd still is at wide receiver 3. They are a very concentrated offense. He still will get some targets. If I have a bench hole, I'd consider it.
Another player that was a surprise RB1 for their team was Darrell Henderson. Cam Akers looked like the clear RB2. If you have Cam Akers on your team, gotta pick up Darrell Henderson. Even if you need an RB, I would pick up Henderson. Right now, it looks like the RB1 on that team. What do you think?
Yeah, I think there is a very low chance he's actually on waivers. But if he is on waivers, I think he's the clear waiver wire number 1. I do think I like him more than Jeff Wilson. I just think the odds of him being on waivers are pretty low.
2 more running backs. If you have Jonathan Taylor, and if somehow Nyheim Hines is on waivers, need to pick him up. Or if you're desperate, Nyheim Hines had 6 targets, 6 catches, 50 yards. Great receiving PPR upside. Pacheco, I wouldn't pick him up right now, but another situation to be worth monitoring. He did get a lot of touches, but they were in garbage time. And another backup, Khalil Herbert. If you have Montgomery, need to pick up Khalil Herbert for your team. But a player that actually is very, very intriguing, if he is on waivers, Julio Jones. What do you think about Julio?
Yeah, Julio Jones, weirdly, he had 2 rushing attempts. He had 3 catches, over 60 yards. He had over 11 PPR fantasy points. What was it, 5 targets? I think if Godwin is out, he should be the wide receiver 2 in the Buccaneers. I don't know how much he's going to play, like snap-wise. He played 52% of snaps, so he's not going to be there every time. But with that big body receiver, big target, I think Tom Brady will look for him when he's on the field. I do like Julio. What do you think?
Yeah, I completely agree. He looked great. He looked healthy, looked like, obviously not his old self. His old self was amazing, but he looked like a good player. I think he does have upside in this Buccaneers offense, especially with Godwin's injury concerns.
Yeah.
And another handcuff, if you have Najee Harris. There was an injury scare. Looks like he hopefully should be fine, but we would still pick up Jaylen Warren if you have Najee Harris on your fantasy team. And the last 2 guys of the video, again, probably not on your waivers, but if Christian Watson somehow makes it on your waivers or Josh Palmer, 2 great pickups. What do you think about them?
Yeah, Christian Watson, if he would have just caught that wide open deep pass, he'd be a top 5 waiver this week. Aaron Rodgers still did target him 3 times after that drop. And Josh Palmer, we don't know how long Keenan's going to be gone, but when he's gone, I think Palmer should be the wide receiver 2. Do you agree?
Completely agree. Yeah, if If Keenan does miss any time, which we don't know yet if he will, Josh Palmer has great upside. Obviously not an elite option right now, but even Herbert was talking about him before the season. Loves him as a possible breakout player. Love Josh Palmer if he's on your waivers. And guys, thank you so much for watching the video. Again, hit the like, hit the subscribe, and check out our Patreon if you guys are interested. Thanks again for watching. See you guys next time.